think we're all good to go. Might just be having a problem on YouTube. Oh, no, we're good on YouTube. Awesome. Can you all hear me? What's up, Reefer Revolutionary? I love it. All right, we're going to get started here in about 1 minute. Literally 1 minute. If you all could repost this wherever you are, whether you're on Facebook, Twitter, go ahead and repost this. And hopefully we won't have any issues today. All right. What's going on? I'm going to do a couple of shout outs. I see Mike. I see DC4 Tuola. Mr. Reefer Revolution. That's what I'm going to start calling you. Make sure we're all good on Twitter. We got a lot to fit into an hour. And then I hope that you all go to check out Tim Black's show after this one. Oh yeah, Tim's going to be actually interviewing David Hildebrand this evening, so definitely go check him out. Man, where is my live stream? Well, I hope I'm live on Periscope. If I'm not, then they're just going to have to get over it. Yeah, we're live, baby. We're live everywhere. We are live everywhere. So, what is going on, everybody? Thank you all for tuning in to our daily live show. We're going to be doing a daily live show for Mikasa and Tsukasa every day from Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. However, on Wednesday and Fridays, the platform will be Just Inform. If you have not registered yet, make sure that you go to do so, because my live streams on Wednesdays and Fridays will be exclusively on my Just Inform page. So at the same time, just a different place. And so you can definitely check me out there as well. So I do want to go ahead and get started because we have a lot to cover in just a very short amount of time. I mean, the news has been crazy this week, right? Hillary Clinton came out with her little, I would love to be, say, Facebook CEO. And then you got Roseanne pretty much being what Roseanne has historically been. You had a young woman who was punched in the face at a beach in New Jersey. And you know, we have the Allison Mack / immigrant children's human trafficking, sex trafficking situation. I mean, there's a lot to cover, and like I said, in just a very short amount of time, so I want to go ahead and get started. So first thing we're going to talk about today is Hillary Clinton's little discussion at her award ceremony. So she went to Harvard to speak at an event where they were coronating her. She received an award, and the award was actually given for being a transformative figure in the world. The name of the award, I'm going to make sure I get the name correct. The name of the award was called, you know what? Doesn't even matter. I can't find it. But anyway, essentially it's an award that was given to her by Harvard University for essentially saying that she's just such a transformative figure, and she's done so much in the United States, in the world abroad. And I would probably have to, well, no, I can't say I disagree with them. She has done a lot. I mean, hell, Libya wouldn't be in ruins and wouldn't have been driven into complete and total chaos if Hillary Clinton didn't interfere. Venezuela wouldn't be having tens of thousands of refugees fleeing to the United States if Hillary Clinton didn't get involved. The Chadian government or Chadian rebels wouldn't have been sent after Gaddafi. Syria may have some sovereignty as a united nation or as a united country. We might have Bernie Sanders as president, which would have definitely changed the entire world. He isn't a perfect candidate, but he is definitely much better than any of the other options that had been given to us. So I will say that to some degree, she absolutely did deserve the award, but probably not in the capacity that they gave it to her. And the reward or the award should have immediately been succeeded by Hillary Clinton. We have found you guilty on 118,000 counts. You were sentenced to Rikers Island, a maximum security prison, indefinitely. Matter of fact, just to attach a number to it, 50,000 life sentences. But that's just too much wishful thinking for me, and probably a lot of you as well. However, she interviewed at this event, and when she was asked, well, if you wanted to be the CEO of any company, what would it be? Listen, people, it took her all of 0.0235681 seconds to say, oh, Facebook. I would be CEO of Facebook. And when she was asked why, she said, because most of America gets their news from Facebook. She didn't even try to hide it. Whether it's fake or whether it's real, most of America will go to Facebook to get their news. I wonder why Hillary Clinton, the neoliberal devil woman, would want to be CEO of Facebook. And it gets better. It gets better because she even goes on to actually defend Facebook as a company, saying, now we know they've had a lot of problems. They've had a lot of problems, but they're reconciling them. They're making sure that fake news is not going to be disseminated throughout Facebook. And they're making sure somebody's fake news isn't being disseminated, but it's not ours. In fact, they're actually shunning real news. They've, like I've said before, they even alerted everybody, saying, hey, if we don't like your news, if we don't like what you post, it will not be seen by the public. Hell, they're even being selective when it comes to political ads. Essentially, anybody who seems to be progressive has been blocked from posting ads onto Facebook. Now, a lot of people wouldn't see this as nefarious. However, I'm all about connecting the dots and putting the data points together. And I absolutely do see this as nefarious. And why is that, you may ask? Well, let's take into account the fact that Hillary Clinton doesn't go into interviews with unprepared answers from questions that were given to her before the event took place. I mean, we all remember the notorious Donna Brazile situation during the presidential primary debates between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. And I'm sure that wasn't the only question that had been given to her. And Hillary Clinton is simply not that talented at flying off the cuff. And so she has to have questions prepared for her in advance, or answers prepared for her in advance. This isn't news. So this question was prompted for some reason. And out of all of the questions that were asked to her during that interview, this was the one that made headlines. How peculiar. And then she answered it like that, and then proceeded to defend Facebook. But let's just say I'm being paranoid. Maybe I'm being paranoid, right? Do you all know who, after that huge congressional committee, or that huge congressional hearing that Mark Zuckerberg went to, after he said he was so sorry for what he had done, he put on those crocodile tears, and he said, "Look, guys, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna sit on my little booster seat, and I need you to know from the bottom of my heart, I'm not going to give your data to anyone anymore except for to the Center of American Progress." Yeah, Facebook, they swore that they felt so bad that they would never do it again. And then literally right after that, they started giving our data to Center of American Progress. And how do we know that? Well, actually, funny enough, TYT actually covered the Facebook censorship story, while the whole story that they were covering, however, was, well, nobody's getting censored on Facebook. Mind you, right after that, there was a huge attempt to censor Jimmy Dore. And yeah, so there's that. But essentially, all of the data and facts that they used in that TYT episode to supposedly claim that Facebook censorship was a myth, reminiscent of the Loch Ness Monster, apparently. All of that data came from the Center of American Progress. If you don't know anything about the Center of American Progress, that, ladies and gentlemen, is the organization that the Podestas are in charge of. Podesta, John Podesta, the one who was former chief of staff for Barack Obama, former campaign manager, and was soon to be chief of staff of Hillary Clinton. Yeah, that's Center of American Progress. So, boom. We are starting to see the dots connect once again, and I'm sure that this was just simply another heat check. But understand, the moment that Zuckerberg decides to step down as CEO, and he will absolutely, because that's just what happens. It's just like a natural, it's a natural reoccurring cycle in social media. It's happened on Twitter. It's even happened on YouTube. It's bound to happen on Facebook. And I can almost guarantee that when that does happen, there's going to be someone politically connected who ends up getting the go ahead. So I'm not really happy about that comment, because I feel like it's putting us in a position where it's more dangerous. Because, yeah, those of you who pay attention to us, the independent journalists, and the truth, you all are listening, and you all will jump ship accordingly. And a lot of you already have. And if you have not jumped ship, I suggest you do so and go to justinformed.com and join this evolution of social media that we've started. But a lot of people, like my personal family members of mine, for example, your brothers, your sisters who don't care about politics as much as they should anyway, they're going to stay there. They're going to have, Facebook is doing facial recognition software to be able to predict whether or not you're about to change your mind about a brand that you support, so that they can market at you to keep you on that brand. That's how bad Facebook has gotten. They say, hey, we're sorry for stealing your data, but is it cool if we read your face so that people can buy stuff, or market stuff to you? It's like, hold on, are you giving that to them for free? Well, no. It's like, didn't you just apologize for selling my personal data, so now you're going to sell my face? I look like a freaking sex worker on Backpage. You're not going to sell my face. Come on, people. So join Just Inform. Jump ship off of Facebook. But make sure you bring people with you. Justinform.com. JUSTNFORM. Justinform.com. Also, moving on. Another crazy lady found herself in some hot water as well, and that woman would be Roseanne Barr. Now, there has been a lot of arguing back and forth and back and forth. And, you know, a lot of times I have to defend the right sometimes. 'Cause I'm like, they have good points. And, you know, not really from progressives, mostly from the neoliberals. I have to defend them from the neoliberals. And in other times, I have to defend the left. I never defend the neoliberals. There's not one reason to defend them. But sometimes you have to defend the left. And then other times, you just have to bring common sense to the entire conversation. Because that's what's seriously been lacking during this Roseanne conversation. Now, there are people on the right who claim that Roseanne was a victim of political assassination, if you will. That her show was canceled because people hate Trump. That's not true. That's not true at all. And the reason we know that is because whenever Roseanne came under fire during her, the opening of her show, the release of her show, which, by the way, got extremely high and favorable ratings. And even if they weren't favorable, they were high ratings. And for TV, that's all they give a damn about. But Roseanne actually did not get fired for political reasons. It's just not true. Well, Niko, how do we know that's not true? Once again, they could have canceled her show before if that was the case. We all know the political leanings of the juggernaut ABC. How do we know that also? Well, she did not only attack Jared, who is Barack Obama's former advisor, but she also attacked Chelsea Clinton. And all of the comments that came out from officials and executives from ABC and Disney had nothing to do with her attacks on Clinton. It was literally about only the comments about Jared. Now, what did Roseanne say? Because I think a lot of people have forgotten what she said. She called her. She said it's like the Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes had a baby. I don't even know where to start with that, right? Think about that. Jared, who identifies as a black woman, I don't even think is Muslim, okay? But she does identify as black. Roseanne is known for her very, sharp comedy. Not really witty, but her sharp comedy. Like, she's known for being very blunt. In fact, those qualities is what made her show so popular. And a lot of progressives I know watched that show. Even if they disagreed with Roseanne's politics, it wasn't about the fact that her politics were different than theirs. It was more so about the fact that there were so many unique political and social perspectives on the show that it was very even-handed and very enjoyable to watch. But Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes people. Now, let's be very clear about something. If you, for some reason, have forgotten how racist and how racial or how racialized the term ape, gorilla, monkey, whatever, anything simian related has been, and it's historic. And I'll even post a link to an article in the description that gives you the history of how black people have been what is been coined as simianized. It is to compare us to animals. It is to say that we're human, but we're a step less. We're human, but we're a little bit uglier than white people. Like, that is what the term ape, gorilla, monkey, It's all used. That's what those terms are used for. And this isn't just consistent, yeah, we all know that black people have been called monkeys in the past, but this was also prominent in Hollywood. How do I know this? Remember that weird movie that nobody really thought was kind of weird? They just thought it was really entertaining, where that huge monkey took this innocent little white woman to the top of the Empire State Building. Do you know what that movie was supposed to symbolize? I'll let you take a guess. It wasn't to symbolize world peace and unity. It was to portray black men, once again, as rapists that white women should fear and stay away from. Because that was a constant fear of white men at the time. As we know, Emmett Till was a victim of that irrational fear because he whistled at a white woman. Black people have been called monkeys as long as racism has been alive. So we don't even have to understand whether or not Roseanne is racist or not. I'm not even here to talk about that. But I refuse to allow people to try to bring politics into this when she's been ranting about her politics and the politics she is against for literally decades. Nobody has said anything about that. Nobody's fired her for that. People still had her on their show despite her politics. She actually called George Soros a Nazi, which by all technicalities is actually true. I'm just saying. He literally came out and said, yeah, I used to seize property for Nazis when I was 14, and I was not sympathetic at all. He said he did not have regrets. He didn't feel any guilt. So technically that's true. But nonetheless, that's a huge comparison. And she said she called Chelsea Clinton's husband a Soros nephew. Didn't get fired for that. So why would ABC, the network, and Wanda Sykes and other members of her cast think that that is a racist tweet? Well, because when she's attacking other people politically, she never refers to them as animals or refers to them as a religion, an extremist wing of a religion that is known to be correlated with being a brown person from the Middle East. So she had two parts of a racial tweet. But she didn't use that reference at all when attacking any other political figures. Oh, no, I lied. She did use it when attacking one other political figure, and that was Susan Rice, when she said that she's a man with big swinging 8 balls. She could have said horse balls. She could have said whale balls. She could have said dog balls. She could have said, there's a lot of animals that have male species, and almost all of them have balls, and she went straight to the 8 balls, gorilla balls. What in the actual hell, people? So the only other person that she compared to a simian, once again, was a black woman. So this is not about politics. That is you convincing yourself that it's about politics. But it's not. It's about the bottom line. They don't even, I want to be very clear about something. ABC, the executive side, they don't give a damn about racism. Like they're not stressing that. Like, let's be honest, okay? It's about PR. She did the same thing with Susan Rice and had to apologize then. By the way, Susan Rice also worked for Obama. Had to apologize then. And it was racist then. And then and that was once again on another political rant where she didn't refer to anyone else as an animal or reference anybody else's religion or correlated color of a religion or a region. But it seemed that she cannot help herself but do that when addressing people of color. It's a bad PR move. Of course she was going to get fired. With the politics keeps people engaged. Whether or not you like her politics or you hate her politics, they're ratings. But blatant racism, no. I'm not saying that she's racist. She could have just been going for the jugular. But people keep saying it was a joke. I was like, what? That's not even a funny joke. It didn't sound like a joke either. It sounds like she was being very, very direct. So I don't believe that we can just let her slide on that one. She had to go. She had to go. It sucks too, because a lot of people enjoy her show. So, enough of that. But I want to talk about this crazy story in New Jersey. Actually, Tim Black was the one who gave me this story. And I really hope that you all go watch his show at 9 p.m. tonight. He's interviewing David Hildebrand, who's from California, great candidate. So definitely go watch his show. It's going to be at 9, right after this. So a woman in New Jersey gets punched by a police officer on the beach. And at first, people just thought the cops were out of their mind doing what they do. But she was a white woman. Repeat that. Cops hit a white woman on a beach. This is usually like international news because, well, it just doesn't really happen. Okay, let's be honest. It just doesn't happen, right? We all saw the video of the state trooper who pulled over a political operative's kids, and so she just decided to speed around the corner and come up and start cussing out the cop, putting fingers in his face, and like nobody got arrested, nobody got like, yeah, that's what. And it's a societal construct that has essentially put a protective lens over how we view white women. They've always been viewed as victims and they've been coddled, and this is just a historic patriarchal thing. I'm not saying they want to be that way, but that's just the patriarchy does that, right? Just like the patriarchy makes black people hate homosexuals and discriminate against them, which is kind of weird because like when you're discriminated against, why would you want to emulate that behavior to somebody else? But that's the truth, and the statistics back it up. I actually talked about this, that same idea, that same concept. I discussed that when referencing Sarah Huckabee Sanders and how the world came to her rescue during that roast, which wasn't really that bad. She's just like, hey, you lied for the president, which she does. And that was pretty much it. But everybody came to her rescue on both the right and the left. However, when there was, and I don't even like Obama, you all know this, but when there was straight up racist things said in the Obama Correspondents' Dinner, and nobody jumped to his defense. Even the people that loved him were like, oh, yeah, that's hilarious. So I just want to clarify why I say that. But her name was Emily Wannon, and the reason the cops approached her is because they believed that she was underage drinking. Now, first thing she did, whenever they walked up to her, she told the cops, don't you have something better to do than harass people for underage drinking? I just want to let you all understand something. Right there is when we get beat. That's it. We're going to jail. We're getting arrested. That's it. I mean black people, specifically black males, specifically young black males. Like, that's it. That's the end of the story. But hey, she got to live to fight another day. Now, here's where it gets a little ugly. They said, well, we were going to give you a warning. However, now I'm going to give you a citation. Not, I'm going to arrest you for underage drinking. Not, I'm taking your bottle, throwing the trash, and I'm arresting all your friends, and I'm taking your baby and reporting you to the Department, of Child Services. And I'm just going to give you a citation and let you go on about your day. So you know what her response was? Her response was to get up and spit in the cop's face and then kick the cop in the baby maker. So once again, you have to understand that if the roles were reversed, if the roles were indeed reversed, like if I was in her place, first of all, I wouldn't have gotten a chance to kick him or spit on him because I would be arrested already just for making the initial statement. However, she kicked him in the groin and spit in his face. Now, the cop proceeded to do just about what 98% of all men would do. He grabbed her, slammed her on the ground, and started punching her in the face. Now, I want you all to understand something, because we're gonna delve a little bit deeper into this, because I love delving deeper into these issues. Whenever I talk about issues like these, there's a lot of nuance to them because multiple things can be true at once, and we can acknowledge all of them. Acknowledging one aspect of this situation as true does not necessarily diminish the seriousness of another aspect of it. So 3 things happen here. The cops used absolutely too much violence. That girl was like 19 years old. She was 19 years old. Was she guilty? Absolutely. Should she have kicked him in the baby maker? Hell no. Like I said, you can kick my dog in the baby maker right now. My dog is going to bite you. You kick my nephew in the baby maker. My nephew, he not as strong, but he going to try to fight you. You kick the president in the baby. You kick the Pope in the baby maker. He don't even use it. And he going to fight you. Okay? So, but I am a proponent of when you are in a position of authority, you are supposed to be held to higher standards. You are supposed to follow protocol, no matter what the situation is. And I think that most of you all would agree with me. Now, the second thing that happened, however, which was a little weird to me, not weird, I expected it, but I went all the posts that I saw was people automatically defending her. Automatically. Nobody did further research. Nobody said, well, she should have complied. Everybody said, oh, how could they treat this woman like this? Oh, I feel so bad for her. Oh, this, all that. Oh, ooh, like, once again, it is true. The cops used a ridiculous amount of force it was 2 cops too, by the way, that had to take her down. 2 cops that were used. That was wrong. Absolutely. But she kicked someone in the baby makers, okay, and spit in his face. I didn't hear not one she should have complied. Why? Because, well, people are lazy. They didn't do anything but watch the initial video. But there are multiple videos that came out. And then multiple articles from the local New Jersey news that clarify, like, yeah, and the body cam footage is about to come out too. Y'all gonna love that. But people automatically defend her. Now, that once again is just indicative of what I was talking about earlier. Like, our society has a complex where we coddle white women. It's a patriarchal thing. There are people who are out there, I'm not saying it's you, of course, Actually, I'm pretty sure most of my supporters wouldn't be like this. But there are a lot of people like this. If the roles were reversed, oh sweet baby, if I was in the place of that white man, if I spit and kicked a cop, there would be people who literally said, I'm not exaggerating, they would literally say, I deserved to die. We don't have to guess this because we've seen it. We saw a man get killed for selling cigarettes, who said he deserved it. He was probably resisting. Why didn't he comply? There are people who said that that Trayvon Martin, who was a child, deserved to die. So we don't have to guess whether or not they would say this. We already have ample evidence. But why? That's the question I'm trying to address. Why? Why would they be so quick to say this about someone like Trayvon Martin, Eric Garner? Why would they be quick to say things like that about them? But yet we have not even seen this really hit mainstream media all that much in the last couple of days. That's a huge story. Why not jump on it? Well, for two reasons. It's white on white. It's a white cop on a white woman, or a white cop on a white person, and a male on a female. That's not going to get you as much play unless they killed her and she wasn't guilty. Then it would be all over. But even if the story was convoluted and we didn't get all the details, and it was a black man on that beach, it would have been circulating everywhere. And we would have never known what the guy did. You know? So why is it perceived differently? Why is it circulated differently? Because they want to shine a light on certain racial issues at their convenience with no substantive way of addressing them, and ignore other real issues like the cops are they're just getting shitty. They're just getting really bad. This woman deserved to be arrested. She deserved to have a citation, but she honestly did not deserve to be beaten in the head. Probably not. Maybe if they were on the street somewhere and she did it, we'd be like, you should not have kicked that guy in the nuts. You should not have done that. But you're a cop and you're supposed to be held to higher standards. Now, there's a third thing that happened. And that is, she is still alive. So the first one, so the cops use far too much violence. Absolutely. At the same time, people took her side and all agreed that that woman suffered from, she just did not at all deserve that. But everybody agreed on that pretty much. They didn't ask for more evidence. Well, they didn't say, well, what did she do? What did she do? She was only underage drinking. That was it. They did that for underage drinking. Nobody dug deeper than that. However, the third thing is, like I said, she's still alive. Now, what's interesting is her reported take on why she's still alive. While she was getting her head beat in, it was reported by multiple people that she said, you can't treat me like this. I'm not one of these effing niggers out here. You can't treat me like this. Her words. Her words. I repeat, I'm not one of these effing niggers out here. You can't treat me like this. Now, when the body cam comes out and more audio comes out, we'll get more clarification on that, but that's what dozens of reports are saying right now. Does that justify the cops doing what they did to her? No, not at all. But what's scary about that is that in some visceral, subconscious, or even conscious way, she knows that she is treated differently and by the standards that at least the society in the United States has set thus far, she is not to be treated the same as somebody like myself. That is like, she knows this. She feels this way. She felt entitled to better treatment, and she thought she could get it. Because think about it, I would never in my life. And you all know my history. I've been beat up by, I've been given I got beat up for trying to stop a fight. I got beat up for standing somewhere else when 4 or 5 other people were trying to fight. I was like, they were like, oh, we know that there are people arguing right here, but he's the biggest black guy in the room, so we're going to take him to jail. Y'all know my history with police officers. I do not like cops for good reason. I had a dislocated shoulder I have to get surgery on because of police brutality. And so when I tell you that I would never spit on a cop, let alone kick him in the baby maker, you need to believe me, because that is insanity. That is suicide for a black male. That is suicide, people. They punched her in the head. Imagine what they would have did to me, or Trayvon Martin, or Eric Garner, or Stephon Clark. But she even knows, which probably means that she has been treated differently. And she's aware of that. And we can deny it. We can go back and forth about it. We're not saying that it applies to everybody in every situation. And I even understand that there's even a hierarchy of how that works. There's superficial factors that play in, like somebody's looks, their weight, their perceived class. I understand all that. But the reality is, even this woman acknowledged, you can't treat me like that because I'm not black. Sorry. You better go treat that other guy down there like that. It's crazy stuff, people. It's I'm not asking y'all to feel one way or the other about it. It's just a story that I want you all to ponder more than anything. It's crazy that this woman comes out and says this. I mean, she got beat, but the fact that she acknowledges this is insane. And it is really indicative of just the standards that we have set as a society for how we treat certain people versus how we treat others. And I think that's something that we can all agree on. Right? I mean, think about how we treat somebody with a degree versus how we treat somebody who just has a trade skill. Is the person with the degree truly smarter? Is he or she oftentimes better equipped to handle the realities of this world? Actually, from my experiences, no. People with trade skills are actually usually better equipped to handle the realities of our country. And oftentimes they're wiser as well. But that's something that our society, a construct that our society has set up to convince people that if you do not get a formal education, or I should say an institutionalized education, then you are not educated. And that's simply not the case all the time. There are many cases, however, where that is true, but there's also many cases where people who are deemed intelligent are actually idiots. Think about it. Hillary Clinton's a freaking moron, and she went to Yale. So there you have it, right? So I do want to get on to our last story of the evening. It was reported by PBS and confirmed that there were immigrant children who were deported under the Obama administration, not the Trump administration, but the Obama administration. Because people have been confusing this. There were immigrants who were deported under the Obama administration that ended up in the hands of human traffickers. And this is according to top officials at the Department of Health and Human Services. They say it could be anywhere. It is like it's random. There's it could be 1,500. It could be more, but they have confirmed that in 2014, during a drug bust, or excuse me, during a raid, at least 10 trafficking victims, including 8 minors, were discovered during that raid by the federal and local law enforcement in Ohio. Now, it's so upsetting. Well, these are unaccompanied minors. So these are people with nowhere else to go. These are kids who fell through the cracks of the system, much like the orphans who were born right here in the United States. It's scary because people pretend like this is something new. Remember, there are people like myself and other independent journalists who's like, why are they not covering human trafficking more often? Because anytime that there's something that is, remember, they like to declare what the American people should be focused on, right? Whenever it was Gaddafi, they screamed Gaddafi's just the biggest mass murderer of all time. Fidel Castro, same thing. When it was Saddam, I mean, when it was Ebola, remember Ebola, the Ebola crisis, the bird flu, Halloween. Remember the Halloween thing? I remember a lot. I was like in elementary school when Halloween became like the scariest thing. You have to have your kids in before dark now. But human trafficking has increased exponentially over the course of now 3 administrations. And although Trump did write an executive order to address human trafficking across the world, which actually is the greatest step that we've seen, unfortunately, by any world leader actually at this point in time that I know about, Trump actually did take the greatest step that we have seen in that department. But the fact that it took this long for us to even see really a story in the mainstream about child trafficking is absolutely disgusting. It's unacceptable. They fill our news feeds with BS, unproven, unsubstantiated stories, narratives, and really fake stories even. Literally fake stories. Literally fake stories. I mean, hell, in the conversation we were having earlier about Hillary Clinton being potentially being a CEO of Facebook. Or excuse me, that wasn't a Hillary Clinton story. I lied. That was the Roseanne story. So in the Roseanne story, where she said that George Soros was a Nazi, which is loosely, if not more than loosely, true, CNN used Snopes as the proof that Roseanne was being dishonest and had lied about that. They used Snopes. Even though George Soros himself said, yeah, I worked for Nazis to seize Jewish property, and I did not feel any guilt in my heart about it. So they literally will post anything. They'll write about anything and convince us that anything is important except for what really is. I have several little sisters, a lot of female friends, and I will have a daughter one day. The fact that this doesn't bother people, and you know what? I won't even say it doesn't bother people. The idea of human trafficking actually scares the living hell out of people to such a degree that they would rather engage in cognitive dissonance instead of addressing the issue head on and finding solutions to it. Once again, how can we truly be surprised at what happened with these 1,500 children when Allison Mack, who you all know as the co-star or former star from Smallville, which was that Superman, reboot, essentially, where it showed how Clark Kent became Superman. Allison Mack, who was Clark's best friend in the show, she was arrested earlier this month for sex trafficking. She even created a program called The Source. Guess what it specialized in? It was to recruit actors and actresses into her sex trafficking organization. And she was under a company called Nexium that had already been deemed a sex cult. And it was reported that multiple members of the political elite and the Hollywood elite and the corporate elite had all been paying into this organization. Now, Nexium at this point is being held accountable, and that's how they ended up catching up with Allison Mack. But I want you all to understand something. You know, the founders of Seagram's donated $150 million to Nexium, this sex cult, people. Do you not think, and mind you, amongst political, corporate, and Hollywood elites, this was already known as a cult, was already being investigated as a cult, and these people decided, let's donate $150 million to them. Did you know that we have between 9,000 and 10,000 children being sold in the United States each year? And understand something, if these numbers are being reported, that is an underestimation because nobody wants to look that bad at their job. But even with the most conservative of numbers, by the way, the average age of these children are 15 years old. But even with the average, even with conservative estimates, with the math, because these children are being sold for sex about 5.4 times a day, that would mean that 2.5 million adults purchase children every year. That's in the United States. That's not including the children who are sold from the United States overseas. That's not including the children who never get found. That's not including the adults who never get caught. There are children who slip through the cracks of immigration, slip through the cracks of child protective services. Kids who get abducted from countries. And when we tried to cover this, saying that elites were potentially involved, given all the really, really close connections, we were called conspiracy theorists. And it reminds me, people, of that one time. Remember that one time all these super important old guys who were considered religious elite got caught doing some really crazy stuff with some little boys in the Catholic Church? Remember when those Catholic priests were just weak? They would never do anything like that. How could you ever think such a thing? Remember how people were ridiculed for calling that out? Remember how those little boys were like chastised? They were saying, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. They're just lying. Because the idea that people in power would be such deviants is just absolutely unfathomable to us. It's extremely uncomfortable because that means that people who run our country are psychopaths and sickos. And I hate to break it to you. They are. The leaders of our countries are psychopaths and sickos. They are power hungry. And that amount of power, especially when you feel like you can't be touched or held accountable, drives you to do things like this. Pedophilia is not new nor uncommon amongst elites. This is historic, going back to dates listed in the Bible, in other religious texts, in other countries. This is not new. And we're trying to pretend like it is. But the fact of the matter is, we're trying to pretend like this is new. Or No, we're not. We are not trying to pretend like this is new. The elites are trying to pretend like the concept of pedophilia amongst elites is just, it's not possible, because a lot of them, to some degree, even if it isn't child pedophilia, like a lot of them to a degree are engaged in sex trafficking or pedophilia or selling or buying. They're engaged in it, or they have been around it, or they know somebody who is engaged in it in some way, form, or fashion. It's just like with the Harvey Weinstein situation. When he's arrested finally. But think about this, people. Lisa Bloom knew about what he was doing, never reported it. 17-year-old girl that he was trying to get put into, make famous, if you will. People knew and know about the idea of the casting couch and how child actresses and actors were forced to perform sexual acts in order to get into the door of Hollywood. And yet, nobody really said any names. Or except for, believe it or not, a lot of people on the hip-hop side of the industry did actually say a lot of stuff about Harvey Weinstein, including Cameron and Dame Dash, Stacey Dash's older cousin. That's how she got into the industry. He actually slapped Harvey Weinstein because that's what he was known for. And every time he tried to call him out on it, he got a lot of pushback. But the reason you don't speak up about that type of behavior when it's right in front of you is because either you're personally involved in it or one of your friends is, and you sat idly by and watched it take place. So, if the entire news industry is doing the same thing, right? Sitting idly by when they know this is taking place, it's likely because, ding, 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 they're either involved in it, they know somebody who is, or they're being paid off to look the other way, or it could affect their money streams. It's a fact. So, that's going to be it for this evening. But hey, make sure you tune in tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard on justinform.com. I'm going to go ahead and boom. So now y'all have it right there. justinform.com. Make sure that you go create your account today. We will add anybody who registered tonight. And follow my exclusive live stream. So make sure you do that, so we can go ahead and get it popping on Just Inform. It is the evolution of social media, and we are happy for those of you who are already a part of it, and we welcome those of you who will be joining tonight. It's time to get off of Facebook because they are not helping. That's JUSTNFORM, justinform.com. And thank you all so much for tuning in this evening. I will see you tomorrow, 8 p.m. on Just Inform. Always remember, ladies and gentlemen, find your balance. Peace.